Pete, you was talking about at first it was too much defense in the league or whatever. Now I want to switch it. When did it become when it was just too much offense being played on the court?
Honestly, I want to say when like, and it's not necessarily that moment that Bron decided to go to Miami, but I think it was the ripple or the domino effect of it to match up and compete with a team that offensively potent. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it was like a little bit around that area because like that's when like you had to like that's when it became all right, like guys are teaming up, stars are aligning, stars want to play on the same team. And then so that's just when teams just start stacking up offensively. You know what I mean? Like that's where, and then you got so many guys that are, you look at, but then I take that back. It was more so when like the Rockets with James Harden and the spread offense. I think that was the pivotal moment where it was offensive explosion. You got your best player you played through. You put 4 shooters around him, and you play fast. You get up and down the court. You pick and roll. See if the defense, how the defense reacts, and then you play from there. And you look at all the teams. You look at why the Pacers are so good because they got a point guard they play through with 4 shooters around them, and they play fast. You look at why the Mavericks put up so many points. You got Luka at the point. 4 shooters around him or 3 shooters with a rolling big, puts pressure on the team. You look at why the Hawks put up so many points. You got Trae Young, put shooters on. So it was like a blueprint. I think now that teams play through your star, you put shooters around them. And so I kind of think it was, that the explosion with Mike D'Antoni, that Houston Rockets team, that kind of like I think changed the landscape a little bit.
So you heard the explanation that Paul George put forward. What are my thoughts on this? I think that what Paul George said was true in terms of there being this arms race for offense when LeBron joined Dwayne Wade. Some people say that's not true, and I'll tell you exactly why that's true. LeBron at the time was a 27-point-per-game scorer at the time before he joined D-Wade. The year before he joined D-Wade, Dwayne Wade led the league in scoring. So you have a guy averaging 27 a game. You have a guy that just led the league in scoring, and then you're bringing in a 20-10 guy and Chris Bosh. They were the most potent offense in the NBA for being honest, and they attacked you from various. They attacked you in various ways, right? So that Miami offense was very, very dynamic, and I remember how hard it was to beat that team, even though they collapsed in the NBA Finals in 2011. Now, the other point he brought up about Mike D'Antoni, the reason I'm not going to side with Paul George on that when that 3 seconds of left offense was because it never worked with Steve Nash, nor did it work with James Harden, right? The NBA is a copycat league, so they generally copy other teams that have established a formula that is successful. At one point, it was common practice to have 2 7-footers in your starting lineup. You saw that with the San Antonio Spurs. With Tim Duncan and David Robinson. You saw that with with the Boston Celtics with Kendrick Perkins. I think Kendrick Perkins may be 6'11", if I'm not mistaken, and Kevin Garnett. You saw that with the Lakers with Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum. And so many other teams are trying to adopt that philosophy. Then what happened? Stephen Curry and the Warriors came in and changed the thing as well. And that's when teams like the Houston Rockets actually started to mimic them. And a lot of other teams mimicked them. So if we're pointing to the point where defense really got shattered was, number one, when the offensive era kind of took place. He mentioned the first one. The second one, I believe, he said about the Mike D'Antoni, I don't really believe that because no team was really doing what they were doing. I think it was with the Stephen Curry guys. When it became everybody on your team had to be able to shoot threes. And I think those are the moments that have contributed to the lack of defense that we see today. And I think what has happened is they have gone too far into the deep end of the pool.